Do I want them to win it all in June? No, I don't. But I'm going to give them a real shot at it. I'm going to give them a 7, man.
7?
As I told you before, start of the season and even now, when they acquired James Harden, and I was told that this team is really good. And I was told by somebody that knows basketball 18,000 times more than anybody that this team is really good.
Who would
and they're going to win.
18,000 times more than anybody?
Because you can't argue with it. You got to just accept it and be quiet and sit there and don't say one word because they know what they're talking about.
Magic Johnson tell you that?
Well, but look, so I give them a 7, Skip, right? Everybody on the team is playing well. Obviously, we talked about Kawhi Leonard having an opportunity to win the MVP. We talked about his numbers, shooting 53%, 40-plus from 3, 89-plus from the free throw line. But here's the big wild card and the X factor that everybody was waiting on to see if it would blow up on them. It's the James Harden. James Harden with a career high of threes, over 43% from 3, knocking it down. But everybody's bought in to Ty Lue. He told us that when they acquired James Harden, just give us 11 games. Just give us 11 games. And now you look up and you look at this team, and we were talking the other day to Richard, and Richard was saying that they're not even at the top of their own conference. Well, that's not the conversation anymore because they are at the top of the conference. So you start to look at this team, and I watched Kawhi the other night against, I guess it was Miami or was it Atlanta?
But back-to-back.
It was Atlanta the last game. That dude right there, he can jump, he can shoot, he can defend, he got big hands, he's long. This team is just incredible to me, how they're able to understand each other in such a short period of time. This is not you go, I go, you go, I go anymore. At the start it was when they acquired James Harden because they were trying to figure everything out.
Remember, they started 3-7. So
they started 3-7, but since then, they just been rolling, Skip. They've won 25 of the last 30 games.
Yeah.
And now they sitting tight.
I think it's now 26-31, but go ahead.
26-31.
Yeah.
And they're just rolling. I mean, I don't see them, especially in the West. I see them this year, for whatever weird reason, getting out of the West.
Okay, so you got them winning it all.
As of right now, yeah, I do. As of right now, yeah.
Richard.
Well, I don't go prisoner of the moment, Skip. I don't. I know what the Clippers have been. I've seen #1 seeded Clippers teams, Lob City, Chris Paul, the boys, Blake Griffin. They were #1 flying through the league and went home early, Skip. And I know this team is really talented. They have otherworldly players. James Harden is playing. To Keyshawn's point, Keyshawn makes a lot of incredible points. They're playing in sync. They're sacrificing. They're giving, each other a chance to shine. Nobody's being selfish. It looks like great basketball, and it's fun to watch. But in these playoffs, it just always seems to fall apart for the Clippers. I don't know why. It's just the history of this organization. It falls apart, whether it's usually in the semis, and some team like the Denver Nuggets or the Minnesota Timberwolves right now are playing good basketball, or maybe it's OKC finally gets over the hump with SGA. But I just don't, regardless of how well, it's a great story. Tyronn Lue said, hey, if I just get 10 games, 11 games to figure out the lineup and tweak it how I want to, it'll work really well. And he was telling the gospel right there.
Yep.
But I got to see it in the playoffs, Skip. Before I believe it, there's very little that can happen in the regular season to convince me that they'll win a championship. So I need to see it in the playoffs. They go to the playoffs and run through. I need to see it before I believe it, Skip.
Okay, so
these Clippers teams are known to do exactly what they're doing right now.
True.
Play really well and then disappear.
Yeah. So scale of 1 to 10, your faith in them in the postseason would be a 3, maybe?
No, it's like 6, 6.5.
Okay. Well, all right. So you give them a little shot.
It's not crazy. I don't think they're too talented to give them a 3. If they weren't a talented team and they just look like, man, this just kind of looks like it's ready to fall apart, that I would say that. But it's a talented team with a great foundation in these great players. Kawhi Leonard has been a 2-time MVP, but the rest of these guys outside of Kawhi Leonard have not had a lot of postseason success.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul George was ridiculous 2 years ago in the postseason. Okay? When we talk about
and went home.
Yeah, but I almost called you Skip. Richard, I hate the Clippers. Okay? And I don't like Clipper Darrell. I cannot stand the Clippers. I want them to fall on their face, Skip, but I got to be realistic here.
Yep.
You got to be realistic. Those Lob City teams and Doc Rivers, 3-1 going home, this is a different team with a different coach. The best availability for someone is staying healthy.
Yeah.
Okay? They're healthy. In the past, they have not been healthy. Kawhi Leonard hasn't been there. He's there this year, Skip. That's why I give them a real opportunity and a chance, because they're healthy.
I'm giving them a chance because they have the best coach in basketball. And speaking of those Blake CP3 teams, I love Doc, but Doc was the coach, and they had too many flameouts because Doc has just had too many postseason flameouts, and we've talked and talked about it. He did win the championship way back when in Boston, but listen, Ty Lue is it to me, and he is working miracles with what was thrown into his lap, because he figured it out on the fly, and he had to make some really tough decisions that surely some of these players did not like. I'm a big PJ Tucker fan, and I don't know if you guys have noticed, but you don't notice him anymore because he ain't playing anymore.
I was also told he would be sitting on the sideline, too.
He wants out. He's hoping to get somewhere else, to some contender by tomorrow, obviously, the trade deadline. And I look at even that Bones Highland. I liked him. They picked him up from Denver, and last year he was getting some run even in the postseason, and he's a talented kid. And Ty Lue just said, no, not on my watch.
They're going 7 deep. That's all.
That's all they're doing.
Deep.
So he's got Norman Powell coming off the bench. And you want to talk about a professional scorer of the basketball? Norman Powell can just flat out score it. However you want to score it, he'll figure out how to score it. And he has low ego, so he's happy to come off the bench. And then I don't know if anybody's watching closely, but Ty got Russ, as in Russell Westbrook, to accept a much reduced role coming off the bench. Not only is he coming off the bench, but I look back, it's been all the way back to November 12th since he's played 30 minutes in a game. And you remember what Darvin Ham was doing with him with the Lakers. Darvin convinced him, you need to come off the bench and lead my second unit. But then he'd come off the bench, Russ would, for the Lakers, and he'd still play 35 minutes because he's Russell Westbrook. And you can't risk, setting him off and making him your sore spot down on the end of the bench. So Ty Lue's just saying no. If he plays 15 minutes, he's going to have to accept playing 15 minutes. And so far, we haven't heard a peep from Russell Westbrook. And then he inserted Terrence Mann into the starting lineup. And the kid can just flat out play basketball. He does all the dirty work for them, all the hustle plays. Big dunks, big rebounds, big defense. It's a sweet situation that Ty Lue has masterminded and controlled with pretty much an iron fist. So now it boils down to Kawhi's health. And as I told you,
he's played all season.
He just played all season. He just played back-to-back and played one of his better games of the year in the second game at Atlanta, who's been on fire at home especially, and they're dangerous, and it was higher scoring, and I did love that. Huh?
I'm looking at the highlights. I'm just looking at that.
Kawhi already has more dunks this year than he had all of last year because he's healthy. He's the healthiest he's been since he was a rookie in San Antonio, and if he can stay there, they will go as far as he carries them. Well, he could carry them that far. All right, so now, what's my scale of 1 to 10 and my trust factor in them in the postseason? I can't go above a 4 because I just don't believe in James Harden as a playoff orchestrator, or if you have to depend on James Harden, but maybe that's going to be the point. Maybe you don't have to depend on James, because the Sixers got stuck last year in a situation where they had to trust James Harden. Do you remember against Boston? Game 6 and Game 7 at home.
First game, what did he do? Hit 50?
Well, he had 42. Let me get my
Game 1, I think
here.
he was high in game 1.
He had 45, and then he had 42 in Game 4. That was back at home. 45 was at Boston. And then we came down to they're right there. They're right in position to close out Boston. And in the last 2 games combined, he goes 7 of 27 from the floor and 1 of 11 from 3. And it was just a disaster, like a nightmare watching him play because they depended on him. Well, can you argue that this team is not really depending on him? Because in the end, it's about Kawhi and it's about Paul George. And if all James has to do, by the way, in those 2 games, he had 5 turnovers and 5 turnovers. So he had 10 total turnovers in those 2 games. He can't do that. You're going to lose playoff games if you have 5 turnovers as the orchestrator of the offense. So can you trust him to kind of stay out of the way in the postseason where you don't make him the deciding factor in the game?
Well, see,
maybe
when you start talking about things like that, though, Skip, you gotta go back to the first part of your conversation, which is the bench. The bench meaning the coaches. When you have Ty Lue and you have Brian Shaw, his lead assistant, coaching these guys up and doing certain things, people respond to things differently depending on where you're at. I'm not worried about James Harden in the postseason because I know that those guys on that bench will get him to do certain things, just like they got Westbrook to decide to say, okay, I can play 20 minutes, it's fine. I'm going to do it this way, and my 20 is going to be at high volume, and I'm going to be efficient at doing it. And he's bought in. They've all bought in. So you got to go back to the bench before you start saying, oh, well, I don't think he's going to do it. He won't do it this way. He won't do it that way. I can't trust him. Those are on other teams. Those are other teams.
But you know, James has a long history of playoff flameouts. A long.
Yes,
we don't have enough show.
With different people, though.
No,
there's different coaches and different players.
But are we
there's
saying,
a relationship with these guys, man.
But are we saying Ty Lue has a bunch of championships? Is that what we're saying?
No.
No, Ty Lue.
Because that's what it sounds like we're saying.
What you mean?
He has one.
He has one as a coach. Is that what you're talking
about? Yeah, as a coach.
You know?
Right. What are we talking about?
But as a coach, he's the best coach in the NBA.
I hear what you're saying. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying the way you're saying that as if this has happened repeatedly and he's taken multiple teams to championships and just really made shrewd coaching decisions to win championships consistently. Ty is the best coach in basketball right now. There's no question. I'm not arguing that right now. But the way you're talking about it, like I missed something, and I'm just making sure I didn't miss it.
Dude won championships as a player. Brian Shaw won championships as a player and a coach. I'm pointing to the bench. All 4 of them dudes
I'm just saying,
respect the coaching staff, man. They listen to those coaches. That's why they playing the way they're playing. Y'all act like it's just pick up basketball in the park and they just out there playing. That's not the case.
We're not acting like it's pick up basketball. I'm just saying you're saying it's like these is repeat champions. Like they won one with LeBron, I believe, right? LeBron James.
Ty Lue won one with LeBron.
And Ty won one with Shaq and Kobe.
Down.
They was 3-1 down.
As a player. And Brian Shaw won one with Shaq and Kobe as a player.
Brian Shaw won multiple with Shaq and Kobe as a player and also won several with Phil Jackson as a coach.
Yep.
They have the DNA.
With Kobe again. I hear what you're saying, but I'm not hearing your point because that's not necessarily he hasn't coached in multiple championships and won them. And so when you're saying that like he's done
what does that have to do with getting people
because
to buy
you're
in?
saying it like what you're saying is like in these championship moments, the difference in what James Harden has had to deal with and what he would deal with now is that he has a coach that has been in here and had success in these moments. And I'm just trying to figure that out.
So you're telling me
the coach that has as many championships as Ty. That's all I'm saying.
So you're telling me that James Harden and Kawhi Leonard and Westbrook and Paul George are going to flame out because they're not going to get the necessary details from the coaches on the bench to execute come postseason is what you're trying to tell me because Ty Lue doesn't have multiple championships as a coach.
I'm trying to tell you that there was really no point there that you were making. I'm going to say they're going to flame out because they got Clippers jerseys on. They're going to flame out because they got Clippers jerseys on.
I don't care about the Clippers falling on their face. I want them to crash and burn. But the reality of it is, right now they're not. You can't.
Prisoner of the moment.
It's not a prisoner of the moment. They're at the top of the conference. The other day they were not. Today they are.
Yep.
Their main guy in Kawhi Leonard, if he stays on the floor, he's going to push to win the MVP. He's healthy. The reason that they flamed out in the past is because he was not healthy. He got hurt in the playoffs. Okay, and then Paul George tried to will them. I don't remember what year it was. I think it was 2021.
Yeah, when Kawhi was gone.
Kawhi was gone.
Yeah, he did. He was
and Paul George tried to take him all the way by himself.
But you just knew
But he
He was
couldn't.
going to hit the wall.
Yeah, he was going to hit the wall, but
Yeah.
now he got help.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying, Richard. I don't like the Clippers. I'm not advocating for them to win the damn NBA final, but I know what I see. And the individual that I had this conversation with, I trust he knows what he sees as well. Believe me.
Yeah.
I'm sure if he knew as much as he says he does, he'd be in Vegas making a lot of money. Don't believe everything you hear.
I think he made a lot of money.
So Keyshawn, when you
He
look
might
at
have.
this roster, not the coaches, but the roster, who has championships, who has pedigree, who has
Kawhi's the
resume?
only one.
He's
Kawhi's the
guy.
only one.
He's got, what, 3 championships?
One in Toronto and two in
San Antonio.
San
He's got
Antonio.
3 championships.
And 2 Finals MVPs.
Yes, he does. And the point is, he is the alpha. He is the one. And Paul George is the 1A.
Yes.
Paul's not
Yeah.
the guy. You know, he's not that dude. He's not. But he is really
he's okay-
good
and
if
he's
you
okay
put
with
him in
that.
a comfortable
And he's okay
1A
with that.
position.
And he's
you know?
okay with that.
Yeah. So they've got the potential is there. I just think James Harden. I can't trust him the way you do.
And that may be the case. You may not, but I know him. And I know what he's searching for and what he wants. And I don't look at the past behavior because he fought his way out of Brooklyn and Houston and OKC. He had to leave because of the money.
He
You know,
actually
I don't look at those
quit
things.
his way out of those places.
Yeah,
that's
but I don't
okay.
look at it that way. He's
Yeah.
at home. He's in a different place now.
Yeah.
And he's certainly playing and displaying that on the floor to me.
All right. Okay, up next, we got to get back to the Super Bowl.
Richard
We
Sherman.
touched on this in our opening segment of this show, but which quarterback has the most pressure on him? The greatest quarterback ever, Patrick Mahomes, or Mr. Irrelevant? It's a good question. Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.